Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 865. Eddie Goes to the Barber. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as Eddie. Eddie, how's it going?
Yeah, things are going pretty well. I have, following on from your gym etiquette conversation, I had my hair cut this morning, and because I'm going to
naked getting a haircut.
No, but because I couldn't go to my usual hairdresser, Barber, because I didn't think about it early enough, and then I realized I'm going to a conference next week. I need to get my hair cut, and then they had no availability in time, so I had to go to a place I've been before, but that is not my first choice. It's a little too young leaning for me. I'm sure all of the people working there are under the age of 27, 28. There are the lighting, all the kind of round, bright lights to sort of make you look as good as possible. They're playing a lot of Bad Bunny, for example. And
Now, are you prefer the 65-year-old old-timey barber who comes in with the barber striped vest on and stuff? Is that what you're preferring?
I mean, the other place I go to it also would call itself a barbershop. I'm personally more in the hairdresser over barbershop category. I feel like this is a weird divide that men have made as we've sort of somehow been concerned about going to I'm going to a hairdresser and be it's much more masculine to say barber. But anyway, the place I go to otherwise it still presents as a sort of barbershop. They're beard trimming and doing all that stuff. It's got the little red and white thing outside, and they're doing all that nonsense. However, there's no music. You're just talking to the person. It's small, but it's nice. This one, yeah. For example, I don't want really a fade on the side of my head. Obviously they're going to use trimmers, but I don't really. These guys, no matter what you tell them, you're getting a fade. And the percentage of your head that they're using clippers for is way higher than if I went to my normal place, where scissors would play a much higher, much bigger part in the process. Anyway, I was sitting there and I arrived and there was one other guy getting his hair cut. And then there was one guy who was having his hair was being dyed. So he was just sort of sitting in a chair whilst I guess part of his hair had been bleached or something. So he was just waiting for that, the entire time they cut my hair, which was probably 20 minutes, he was FaceTiming someone. Just nonstop phone conversation.
Headphones or no headphones?
No headphones. So,
wow.
So you're just listening to both sides of the conversation. And then he would end the call.
English or French?
In French, and then briefly in Portuguese as well.
Oh.
Yeah. And he would end one call, immediately onto the next. I kind of sat down. I was oh yeah. He probably had, in the time I was there, he must have had 7 phone calls. A couple times back to the same person, because he would say, I'll call Steve and see what Steve says about that. And then he would call Steve, and then he would call the other person back and be Steve says he can do it. I had a whole plan. I could tell you this guy's work week in detail, because that's all he was speaking about.
It was work related.
It was all work related. I gather that he runs some kind of shop,
Black
car
market.
shop. He's doing wraps on cars and replacing tires and wheels and whatever. So he was just speaking about what cars do we have in the shop? When is it going to be ready? We need to get it cleaned before we give it to the customer. Calling one guy what time is it going to be cleaned? It needs to be cleaned by 11.
He's getting bleached hair.
Well, he's just sitting there with his hair looking like a complete dumbass. But anyway, that ruined then the other interesting move.
And no one, none of the workers gave him a look or anything.
No, I gave him a look because at one moment, I'm sat in the chair, and usually this was also an interesting thing. Usually, the people who cut my hair move around me. They don't really twist me much. This guy rotated me as he cut the hair. So he was stationary, I was
Nice.
swiveling, which meant at one moment in time, he swiveled me so I was just staring directly at this guy. so, so at that moment in time, I just looked at him just while he had his phone call because it was I can't. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go out of my way to look elsewhere. That seems strange. So now I'm just going to look at you while you have and see if that makes you uncomfortable or at least
He didn't
somewhat
make a
self-aware.
comment.
Didn't put no. Felt like, especially as it's not my usual spot. The one thing I will say, I didn't tip. That to me was
Wow.
you guys should have said something. Yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
this is not huge tipping culture here when you're getting your hair cut, right? You're
Yeah.
chucking in, like my usual person, the haircut's €30. I'll tip them somewhere between 3 and 5, depending
Okay.
on because I have to tip in cash depending on what's in my wallet. Either it's coins or a bill. This guy, I was like, fuck that. If you run a shop and you're at no point in time gonna say, hey man, maybe take a pause or go outside. I'm sure he could have gone outside while he waited for his hair or gone to at least there's the waiting area. He could have gone and sat in that and had his phone call. He could have done that
Or at
to
the
be a little bit
very
more
least,
discreet.
put in headphones. At the very
Also true.
least.
Yes. There's a lot of little things he could have done to make it marginally better, and he
Yeah.
did none of them.
Or
And
texted some of it.
yes.
Why
A
couldn't
lot
he
of
have
them could have been
texted
texts.
Steve to find out what Steve thought?
I don't know. The other interesting thing, really get into a granular level for our listeners. So usually when I have my hair cut, they kind of and they'll start on the sides and the back, and they kind of go around, so go all the way around, and then so start on the left, wrap their way all the way around the back, do the right hand side, and then then start moving up. This guy cut half of my hair and then cut the other half. He fully did the right hand side and then did the left hand side in complete isolation from one another. It was bizarre.
That's kind of weird. Yeah. That's a little weird.
I've never had it before.
I guess
There was literally a moment I was looking in the mirror and I was like, half of my head has been cut.
the real question, though, is do you go in with your hat on, and then as soon as the haircut is over, do you put your hat back on as you walk out? That's the real question I want to know about your barbershop
That's-
experience that I'm sure several other listeners is their main question.
so I went in without my hat on. I did put my hat on when I left.
Like, as you got up off the chair, do you
Just
put
be
the hat back on? That's like
no.
the ultimate sign of
No, I feel
disrespect.
yeah. No, I waited till I stepped outside because I did feel I think it's a little disrespectful if I immediately are like, this is a shit haircut. I've got to put this hat back on. So I'll always wait. If I am wearing a hat, I'll wait until I leave the building to put the hat back on. But it's sunny. The weather's nice here. It is fully, we're now and I was walking home. So because I have the joy at the moment that they're replacing all of the water pipes on my road. So my road is closed, either the bottom half or the top half, they alternate are closed at all times of the day. So, yeah, I was walking back, which was delightful. But yeah, the weather's good.
So does that mean no paddle then? You got haircut over paddle.
I know I played paddle afterwards.
Nice.
I played I had my
Did
haircut at
someone
10
comment
AM.
on your haircut?
No. I played haircut at 10 AM and I played haircut. I got my haircut at 10 AM and I played paddle at noon. That was my lunchtime activity.
That's some lunch. 10 to 1, 10 to 2.
No, the lunch was I played noon till 1:30, so 1.5 hour lunch break to play paddle. So, with that mild, sort of detour to speak about haircuts, since we last spoke, obviously, we were talking about the situation in the Premier League. Manchester City played their game in hand yesterday against Burnley, which they won 1-0, maybe closer than they would have liked. They had lots of opportunities to put the game to bed. They didn't take any of them, and there was the risk there that Burnley were going to sneak a late equalizer to really throw the cat amongst the pigeons at the top of the Premier League race. But they got their win. They moved level on points with Arsenal and ahead of them based on goals scored.
So does that mean now you're ready to talk about the title race now that Arsenal are not number one? That was your big quote for 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah, like 4 weeks, maybe less than a month. Yeah, it's game on now. It's a
It's game
5-game. I'm not going to say that because Arsenal do have the slightly easier run-in, and they will once again go back, as we discussed last episode, to having the. They will have played a game more. It's game over if they go out and lose to Newcastle this weekend, because I can't, but I think both of them, honestly, I think both of them are going to drop points somewhere. And it may come down to where they drop points, if it's a loss or a draw. But I don't, as much as we are used to, and like we can think back to recent seasons where it's just been both teams then just like win, 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 win. I have a feeling that both of them are going to slip up in at least one match.
Dare we go through the matches?
We can do. I mean, we already did, and I already got it wrong because last time we did it, I gave Arsenal the win against Bournemouth, and they immediately lost. So
I said no.
We can. Well, so yeah, we can go through them again.
Okay. Well, we didn't really go through City's matches. We went more through Arsenal's matches. So, City have left Everton.
I'll say they win that.
Okay. That is
say
away.
Home and away too. Just yeah.
Sorry, yeah, that is away to Everton. Home to Brentford.
Yeah, they win that.
So you think, would you definitively say, well, let's do the next one then. Bournemouth away.
They win that.
So out of the first 3, you're saying pretty definitively 9 points.
It wouldn't stun me if they dropped points in one of the Everton-Brentford match, because those are 2 tricky games. Like, they're not. I'd be very surprised if they drop points to Bournemouth at home.
Oh, we've heard that before.
We have.
Well, that was Bournemouth away.
But I would be surprised. I would be surprised.
It's Bournemouth away.
Oh, so it's Everton away, Brentford home,
yes,
Bournemouth
Brentford
away.
home, Bournemouth away. Yes.
Yeah,
and
but I could see them slipping up in one of the first 2.
They finished their last 2 at home to Crystal Palace and Aston Villa.
So this is the tough thing, is I said I think both of them will slip up, and I'm now probably going to say City win all 5. The thing is, the reason why, I'm going to pick 5 wins there. This is what's sort of dumb prediction, but none of those games are quote unquote easy. And so because of that, whilst in isolation, I'll say win across the board. That's a tough run. That's like not the easiest of gauntlets to pass through down the stretch. As we spoke about last episode, I think the one thing that could help them is that Aston Villa may have nothing to play for on the final day of the season. And so on paper, that looks like the hardest match in some ways. It may actually be the easiest. The other thing they have going for them, those are a lot of teams that actually may not have a lot to play for in general either. The relegation races, not dragging most of those teams into it, and at the same time, their European places may be fairly certain. So, yeah, I'll go chalk. I'll go City to win all of them, but I think they'll drop points in one of them. Like, I don't know. I just can't pick which one it is. It's a bad segment for me,
tough.
but it's just the way I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not an easy slate. I mean, you'd hope that if you were, City, you'd want a few teams near the bottom, right? But you're getting, 4, 7, 9, 10, 13, like all middle table clubs. Not any ones that you can definitively like. You can really say like, "Are we going here? We go up 3-0 first half. We're good. Like, let's go home." Like let's go up, shut the engines down, rest a little bit, go home. I don't think you have that type of match here, which is kind of unfortunate. Like you could get into a scenario where you only go up 1-0, like they did on Wednesday, but then you're playing a good enough team where they actually can put the equalizer in, and then you're in the 85th minute, all fucking pushing everyone forward to try and get that game winner. It makes it very different.
It does, but I do think towards the end of the season, right, you do have to slightly flip it, and you have to go through the how much do these teams have to play for scenario. And, you look at this and, right now the teams I don't really want to be playing would include Tottenham, West Ham, Nottingham Forest because they're fighting for their lives. So those become trickier ties than they look, sort of matchups than they look on paper. Crystal Palace will be completely in the we've got nothing left. They can't get themselves into Europe unless something miraculous happened. They can't go down. They'll just accept that they're going to finish somewhere between 15th and 10th. Everton have an outside shot of getting into Europe if they go on a really good run. Brentford are right there competing for Europe. And then Bournemouth are also competing for Europe. So, those are tough because each, every point will mean a lot to them. Aston Villa, realistically, are not dropping out of the top 5 between now and the last match of the season. So they're going to be
Yeah,
guaranteed
no.
Champions League football. So yeah, I think, yeah, I'll say they win all 5, but I expect them to drop. I expect them to slip up somewhere. I just can't identify exactly where it is.
I'm gonna say 13 points they get out of that.
1 draw, which, yeah,
I'll take
I
one
don't think they're
draw.
going to lose. I don't think they're going to lose. I think they're going to draw somewhere.
And then you have Arsenal's run in is Newcastle home, Fulham
I gotta
at
stick. I
home,
said draw. I said draw last time around for the Newcastle home match, and I'm going to stick with the draw there.
Fulham at home,
They'll win that.
and then that Fulham match is sandwiched between 2 Champions League matches as well. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And then they finish up also potentially having more Champions League depending, right? But West Ham away, Burnley home, Crystal Palace away. Crystal Palace could play huge in this in this
Yeah,
title race.
Yeah, Crystal Palace could fundamentally determine almost who wins the Premier League. Burnley are down. Burnley also aren't good. So, I'll say that's the win there. I think they'll beat Crystal Palace. Again, similar, scenario to City. You're playing a team with nothing but pride to play for, a few players who may either have one eye on the beach or one eye on staying fit for a World Cup, for some of Palace's players. West Ham's the interesting one because you could be playing for a team fighting, playing against a team fighting for their lives. And so, again, yeah, on paper, you're looking at a team in the bottom 4, but I'd rather play Crystal Palace than West Ham, for sure. So I still think they win all, but I think they get a draw against Newcastle, and then they win the rest. Yeah,
I'm
we'll
gonna
see
say
with
11
Newcastle.
from
Newcastle
them.
are kind of,
I'm gonna say 2
Newcastle
draws.
are in free fall, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Arsenal draw 2 of those matches. Again, tough to predict which ones.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, realistically, you should expect if either of these teams sort of merits winning the Premier League, those are all very winnable matches. City have the only one on paper that you go, that's a little tricky, is that Aston Villa final match of the season. And there are sort of mitigating circumstances there that make that match a lot easier than it would have been, week 20 than it is week 38. So, yeah, you'd say if either of these teams lose this now by slipping up again, then they only have themselves to blame. if one of these teams goes and wins it by just, like having a 7-0 victory that puts them back in charge from a goal difference and goal scored perspective, then, that's a different thing entirely. But if Arsenal win this because City just dropped points somewhere or City or vice versa, then you can't look at that run on paper and say those are 5 games that should be stopping you from winning the Premier League title. Now, speaking about a team that definitely won't be winning the Premier League title, even though 14 months ago I thought they might be able to. Chelsea, who lost again, they lost to Brighton in a rather pathetic fashion, and then decided to part ways with Liam Rosenior, their interesting managerial appointment in the first place, deciding to take him from the Chelsea club ecosystem at Strasbourg and give him a very major promotion. And he in a position in which he very much underwhelmed and mostly caught headlines for his slightly strange press conferences and quotes. He was in charge for only 106 days, appointed in January, sacked in April, managed 23 matches, won 11 of those, does include some cup games, drew 2, lost 10, scored 32, conceded 31.
He scored 32 goals, though? It's not bad.
He did, yeah. He played pretty well. But yes, it's the shortest Chelsea manager in the history of the Premier League. Graham Potter was only in charge for 206 days, Scolari 223 days, Villas-Boas for 256 days. And although it's not the worst winning percentage in Chelsea Premier League history, Graham Potter actually only won 38.7% of his matches. So he did better from that perspective. But the sour points, I think the things that, were the nails in the coffin in terms of him losing his job, they lost 5 consecutive Premier League matches without scoring a goal, which is the first time that Chelsea have done that since 1912. So that's not a good look. They obviously lost 8-2 on aggregate to Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League round of 16 a couple weeks ago.
That was not a good look.
The 8-2 is not a good look, but obviously you expect PSG to knock them out. And and then just you sort of seen, turn of the start of 2026, it felt like they were right in the Champions League places in the battle for Champions League football. And then ultimately now they're out of the Champions League and maybe not even getting any European football. So I think, and that's the ultimate thing that I think is his undoing, is because the owners, their revenue model relies on the fact that they get that European cash injection, and they're going to be missing out on it next season.
Yeah, it must be tough to be a Chelsea supporter. Tough times.
I think it's going to get tougher, though, because the concern now is going to be without the European revenue, without the Champions League revenue.
Yeah.
You look at the squad that they have, and yes, it's very young. And there are, this is the positive spin, is that they went through that period where they're just signing so many players, and they've got these young players who should only get better, and some of them should evolve into superstars. But realistically, there's a lot of big holes in their first 11 and in their squad. And it's hard to imagine them now spending a lot this summer because they're going to have a big drop in revenue. So,
or is this the big push for the Super League?
I think that's gone. And I'm not sure if Chelsea get into the Super League at the moment.
Well, that's why they're going to start their new one. So they got to get revenue somehow.
Well, the mediocre league. But yeah, so, it's you think about a prospective new manager coming in, and yes, you'd look and see some players there who I'm sure any manager would want to coach. But at the same time, how much will you be able to improve the current playing squad? And then what are expectations? Because I think you're in trouble if you're not getting them Champions League football. And if I were looking at this Chelsea squad now heading into next season, I see no reason to think that they would be favorites for a top 5 finish. Like, I can't see them passing City, Arsenal, or Liverpool, who I think will improve next season. Manchester United appear to have at least figured a reasonable amount out, and Aston
Yeah.
Villa are, this is now a few seasons where they've been consistently at the top end of the table.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's tough when you kind of have to fight for that fifth spot, and you have a few teams kind of in there fighting for it. I mean, we haven't talked at all about Manchester United really this entire season. I mean, decent turnaround.
It has been. Michael Carrick has definitely done a good job there, and they're vastly improved from where they were at the beginning of the season. I think the thing is, every time I'm on the cusp of, like, when I'm taking notes of what am I going to mention next episode, they then go and lose a game, like a week ago, and they lose to Leeds. And right when you're about to say, like, wow, they're going to finish third. Like, this is, who would have thought? Like, if you go back to October and made that prediction, you would have thought I was insane. But, and they may still finish third, but it's just, I feel like they've benefited more from a drop off. I'm not going to go into next season and say that they are 100% certain to be a top 4 team, but certainly Carrick's done a good job. It'll be interesting to see if they keep him in charge.
Going into next season, who do you rate higher, them or Liverpool?
I mean, I've got to see what they do in the summer, obviously, with both of them. I have more confidence that Manchester United are going to be aggressive in the transfer market because everything coming out, you think of the Liverpool squad, what's happening with Arne Slot, who seems to have kind of lost the dressing room there. On top of it, they are losing a couple of key players, like Salah is finally leaving, Robertson's leaving. So those are 2 players to replace, which, yes, they already kind of have replacements, but those are 2 big figures to replace in a dressing room and a lot of experience going. And then Slot came out and said they have to sell to buy. So if you got to sell to buy and you're losing 2 players on a free, it means you can't really replace them unless you sell someone else.
Yeah.
That doesn't fill me with confidence heading into, like, the transfer window and thinking about what they would do. Whereas I do think Manchester United are in quite a, like, if Manchester United have good sense, they'll see an opportunity here to cement themselves in the sort of big 3 and create a gap between themselves and Liverpool and Chelsea. And if they go out and spend 200 million, 250 million this summer, they could probably do that. We'll see if they do it. And the question mark, you've got some key players for Manchester United this season who are old. I mean, Casemiro's actually played quite a big part. How long can Casemiro keep competing at the highest level? Bruno Fernandes is having a very good season. How long can he keep that going for? You've got a few issues there that might take a bit of money to fix. In other English football wrap-up, I guess we should say we don't speak that much about the Championship. We can start by saying Blackburn won yesterday to ensure that they stay in the Championship next season. However, Leicester City lost on Tuesday night. Oh, they drew on Tuesday night, which condemned them to back-to-back relegation. Only the second Premier League champion to have team to have previously won the Premier League and now find themselves playing in League One. Blackburn Rovers had held that title by themselves for a while. No team, obviously, in the history of English football has gone from winning the top flight to being relegated twice within a space of a decade. So that's quite
crazy.
unique. And they are, the back-to-back relegation, it's quite rare. So Swindon Town did it in the sort of Premier League era. Swindon Town suffered back-to-back relegation from 1993 to 1995. Wolves did it 2011, 2013. Sunderland did it 2016, 2018. Luton Town did it 2024, 26. And now Leicester City have done it as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it looked like obviously Coventry going up, but also looks like potential that Ipswich goes back up. Which, we discussed that on the podcast about the yo-yoing aspect of that. With
Brett Johnson,
co-owner. I was like, yeah, I was trying to think of the title, not owner, but I
Part of
forget
the
what the
ownership group, I think is
yeah, there
probably
we
the
go.
appropriate way to phrase it, yeah. No, I mean, and this is obviously ultimately, and it's nice to see Coventry going up, who, are not a team that have been yo-yoing, and they've had a great recovery from the brink of sort of financial collapse and going into administration to, now finding themselves in the Premier League in a relatively short space of time. And I think the Coventry story is encouraging for everyone who supports a team in the Championship or League One that is currently being slightly poorly run, or maybe things aren't being done correctly, because you can see how Coventry have managed to turn things around in relatively quick fashion. At some point, though, the yo-yoing has to become a real concern for the Premier League and the Championship, in that, if it is just at least two of the same three going up, going down, going up, going down, the competitiveness both at the bottom of the Premier League and the top of the Championship is a problem. And, we're basically seeing at least two of the same three teams going up and going down every season, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make for the most excitement. And Wrexham, I guess we have to say, we kind of said they might be out of it. They've managed to sneak their way back into they
Yeah.
currently are in the playoffs. It's between them and Hull for that sixth playoff spot. They are ahead of Hull with a 2-goal advantage on goal difference with 2 games to play, level on points. Neither team in particularly great form, so they're both sort of limping their way towards the playoffs. And we'll see. As I said a couple weeks ago, I don't think it matters. I don't think whether it's Wrexham or Hull, I don't give them much chance against any of the 3 teams above them in the playoffs. But, you buy your ticket to the lottery and you see what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think still impressive. Like we've also talked about this a little bit too. Very unrealistic to continue to expect to move up, league after league, year after year. But for your first year in championship to make it to the playoffs, I think is a pretty good success. Like I think that should be something they should be kind of happy about. Not to be in the top what 6. That's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah. L- it's well done. They spent the third most in the championship this season. They spent, 40 million pounds. Only Southampton and Ipswich spent more than them. Both Southampton and Ipswich are above them in the league. So from a financial perspective, they are where they should be. From a net spend perspective, they spent more than any other team, double what any other team in the championship spent from a net perspective. So yes, we can say, well, impressive to possibly continue the promotion run, or at least be in the runnings for, another promotion. But realistically, if you're throwing that amount of money at it, this little club that could, which is what the documentary want to make, they're constantly trying to position themselves as. It's like this special little town in this corner of North Wales where, no one else knows, could put it on a map, but it's just the community rallying around this small club to turn it around. It's like, no, it's tens and tens of millions of pounds, and they are outspending everyone in every league that they're in. Surprise, surprise, they're winning. Like, it's how much do I want to congratulate the LA Dodgers on being good every year? I mean, it's, yeah, if you outspend everyone, you should be better. It's as simple as that.
But you're not always better.
You're not, and you still have to execute, and they've made some shrewd signings and done well, and what I think they've consistently done well as they've risen through the leagues is signing players who are good at the level that they're in, but who can also kind of reach the next level. Sometimes what you see clubs make that mistake is they either overspend on a player who is just very, very good at that tier of football, or they overspend on a young player thinking that their potential is going to be the thing that kind of, when we get to the Premier League, this player is going to be great. You got to get there first, and you don't know how well that player will develop. And a lot of times what ends up happening is either the player doesn't develop, or you never get there, and then you're reselling that player, 2 or 3 seasons later, because they're frustrated that you didn't get the promotion that you maybe promised them when they signed originally. But Yeah, good for them, I guess. You know, it's just like I won't if Spurs get relegated, I won't congratulate them next season when they get promoted. You know, it's just I expectations should be mostly, guided by financial expenditure.
Ah, I love the bitterness.
It's not bitterness. I would much prefer at this
It's
time to be a Wrexham supporter than a Blackburn supporter. Like, it's much more enjoyable, and the hope there, it must be wonderful to be like,
so that is bitter. Isn't that like the definition of bitterness? That
"No,
you'd
because I don't
rather be
begrudge them
that
the suc
other supporter?
no, because I don't begrudge them the success." It's not it's not that. It's just that e and look, there would
No
be people who
slight
say
bitterness that there's an ownership group that wants their club to succeed and be promoted and is willing
there's a
to
lot of
spend money to do so.
there's a lot
No
of
bitterness
those.
there?
There's a lot of those. Unfortunately, the Blackburn Rovers owners do not fall into that category, but there are a lot of other owners or ownership groups who are at least trying to do that. And there would be people who are listening to this who will say, like, "Oh, taste of your own medicine. Blackburn only did well in the late 80s and 90s because of Jack Walker's money." And that's true. He threw a ton of money at it. And that's, I don't think you can say that that they bought the Premier League, but certainly they would not have won it without him, breaking transfer records and pumping huge sums of money into both the infrastructure of the club and the players that they signed. The only difference, I'll say that, is he was a lifelong Blackburn Rovers supporter who was doing that because he made lots of money and then wanted to throw money at a club that he passionately cared about. Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, sorry, Rob Mack and Ryan Reynolds are just doing this because it at that very moment in time happened to align with something that they wanted to do, and they, put out feelers to buy multiple clubs, and Wrexham was the one that made the most sense at the right time. They probably chose reasonably well, and it's good for them. Will they stay forever? Absolutely not. Will this probably end in disaster for Wrexham? Almost certainly. It's just, you know, we'll see. We'll see if Rob Mack and Ryan Reynolds are still leading that ship 20 years from now.
It's
Let's see
Ryan
what
Wren
they're
now.
right. Oh yeah, Ryan Olds and Rob Mack. All right, that probably wraps up the football talk. Which sport should we go to next?
I don't know. What sport can we go to next?
Well, we got the NFL draft about to start. So obviously, we're not exactly going to do a
Yeah.
mock draft or run through our draft boards.
Oh, you want to
So
do a mock draft? I'll pull up my latest one. I'll pull up
yeah.
version 5. Yeah.
Oh, you're only on
I do
version 5?
yeah. No, today. I do like 10
Okay,
a day.
1 an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah, pretty much.
We've not obviously spoken about the controversy that's somewhat engulfing the NFL with Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini and their
I thought we did mention it briefly, but maybe we
I think we
didn't.
maybe mentioned it, but we've not really spoken about it too much.
Yeah.
Not
Here
a
we
great
go.
look from the Patriots that they tried to shut the story down, which it seems that news has emerged that they did their best to contain that story as much as possible. I guess that's kind of their job to a degree to avoid controversy when possible, but still. Mike Vrabel's statement, non-statement about it, like kind of addressing it, but really not addressing it. And now the thing that's been revealed is he's skipping
Day
the
3 of the
day 3
draft.
of the draft to receive counseling. A, why does the counseling have to take place on any of the draft days? Like, why is it so
Which,
desperately urgent, but at the
first
same
off,
time not
that's on
urgent enough that
Saturday
it needs to
too.
take place immediately?
It's on Saturday too. That's the
Yeah.
Saturday.
But you know what I mean? Like, if he desperately needs
Yeah.
therapy or counseling, then he should step away from his duties as head coach and go and seek that. But this sort of, oh, let's just tell the public that you are getting counseling, but let's pick a day when you really don't have anything to do. Like, who cares who we draft on day 3? They probably just get cut anyway. It's so stupid. Like, the NFL rarely handles things well. This is just another example of everyone involved handling it pretty poorly.
I it- there's a lot, but the other thing too. So I did his press conference was actually exactly what you're saying, was kind of strange, where he kind of said, "I've had a lot of" I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something like, "I've had a lot of good and productive conversations with a lot of important people close to the situation." It's like, what a shitty way to say, like, "I've talked to my family, and, like, those have been productive conversations." Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, I would be very disappointed if I were his wife and that's what I heard said. Either say nothing or just speak about, like, "I'm really disappointed to have obviously hurt my wife and my family and embarrassed myself and them in public." But, yeah, what's productive? Does it mean you're and I get it, like, it's way too early. He shouldn't really need to be commenting on the fact that he's been having an affair, right? That doesn't the only reason why this is in any way a story is because he had that affair with an NFL reporter. It's not as
Yeah.
if under normal circumstances, if this was just Mike Vrabel having an affair, then he shouldn't have to address it in a press conference. He has to now because he chose very, very poorly in terms of who he had that affair with. But, yeah, it didn't make him look any better.
I hope, for the Patriots' sake, that they're able to push through on day 3 of the draft without him.
How could they? You know, just a rudderless ship floating through the 3rd day of the draft? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not I'm sure he won't have told them, like, he won't have sent them a short list or a mock draft, and I'm sure he'll be completely unreachable by phone at all times. I mean, it will be a 12 hours therapy session, just a marathon therapy session. Like, no way can they even schedule the therapy session around draft activities.
That would be funny.
It does mean interesting for the players who get drafted, who, like, typically part of that experience, right, is that you get the phone call and one of the people you speak to, it's usually the head coach first and then the owner who maybe says something to you as well. And certainly in the case of the Patriots and how involved Robert Kraft is and everything, I'm sure he's always on, part of that phone call. Little bit of interesting kind of moment in history if you're now drafted by the Patriots on day 3 and you don't get the head coach being one of the people on the, "Hey, how do you feel about coming to New England?" Like the phone call conversation, That's strange.
Are we
Who
sure
leads that call?
are we sure the head coaches call after round 2 anyway?
I'm sure they do. You see those clips. Like, yeah, I think they do. Because they still wanna make it feel like you're special, right? I mean, that's because it's the same lie every time, is like, we knew we wanted you. We were gonna get you somehow, either as an undrafted free agent or with this pick. Like, from day 1, you've been on our draft board. We were someone who we wanted, which is like, my response to that is like, "Cool, thanks for drafting me in round 6. If you really thought I was that great, why didn't you draft me in round 5?" Like, I'm not obviously expecting to have leapt up your draft board to a top 10 pick, but there's only so much, you know, I I don't know how much of a compliment I'm gonna take when it's like, you're our 7th round pick, but we absolutely love you."
No, I think it'll be an interesting draft this year. I mean, besides,
Yeah.
obviously, Mendoza at number 1, you have a lot of players at similar levels that I think it will just come down to, who that team just feels the most. I mean, you have, like, Jeremiah Love, who could go 3, he could go 4, or he could go, you know, anywhere down that list. I don't think he'll make it past 7, but, any one of those teams could take him. And then you have the 2 edge rushers are kind of back and forth, the Ohio State Reese versus Bailey from Texas Tech. Like, a lot of draft boards have said, they're kind of very similar in style and things like that. So, kind of depends on what team just favors one versus the other. So, I mean, even the Giants, every mock draft I see, the Giants at 5 have a different player. It's there's no real consensus, which will make for a fun draft. I think you'll have a lot of up in the air picks, and really won't have a good idea of who's going to take who until it's done.
Yeah, and every year, it just makes me think that the easiest job in the world is being a draft analysis mock drafter person. Like, Fundamentally zero accountability because you do a million mock drafts. So at some moment in time, certainly with a top 20, you probably have got it pretty much right in some version of your mock draft because it's like, oh, I know they want an edge rusher. There's 3 edge rushers, sort of viable options in the top 25 picks. Over the course of 3 months, I'll get them drafting each one of those 3. And then I can say, like, yeah, we knew back in February that they really liked him. I kinda just don't know what it exists for. I mean, I do consume some of the content sometimes just because you have a look, but what a cushy
Well, I
job.
mean, but maybe this is where we fit in, Eddie. Maybe we analyze the mock drafts and give grades and see who actually got the most right.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awful. Like, that sounds genuinely awful to do as a process, and I don't know who would wanna listen to it. I don't really know. I think because for the most part, we accept, right, that these guys are not that good at their jobs. Like, there's never anyone who every year you're like, "Oh, yeah, he gets it right
Well, I
every
think they're
time."
good at their jobs in the sense that uh, they're they're good at like scouting the talent. Like I think there's
Are
two
they?
parts to there's two parts to it. There's the part of ranking the players and like analyzing the players and then fitting that into a random mock draft. I think the mock draft part is all just for fun. Like I don't think you can maybe get some insights into the clubs and talk to the clubs and see who they're leaning towards. But I think ultimately that is more just like here's what I think they should do and maybe a little bit of what I think they will do based off what I've heard. But I think there's more relevance to like how they rank players. I think that's something we could go back and say like Mel Kiper is actually absolutely awful at ranking quarterbacks. You know, like he's
But
had
aren't
every
they
good quarterback.
all?
I don't
Aren't they
know.
all? Not to
We
jump
don't
on the
know.
this is a Bill Simmons thing, and I'm only saying this to give him a little bit of credit, but it's remarkable how bad NFL teams are at drafting in the modern era. Like, it doesn't feel as if teams have really got any better at drafting. Like, there's still the same percentage of misses, and part of that obviously boils down to the fact that predicting how a 20 to 22-year-old is going to develop into a person is very hard, and you can have everything look right on paper, and then they just are a bit of a head case or they don't work hard enough or whatever it is. But it is strange that f you just see the same percentage of swings and misses, and there's just so many unknowns every year. But
Well, I also think though too, I think the other part that is really important that people I think a lot of times just forget to mention is how much the club factors into the success of that player. Like, you look at a lot of Cleveland Brown draft picks, and I'm not saying that they were good quarterback picks and things like that, but maybe they would have been a better quarterback if they weren't put into a bad organization or a bad coaching staff that the Browns had. I mean, Sam Darnold is a classic example. 4 years ago, Sam Darnold is an absolute draft bust. Oh, he was terrible. He's picked by the Jets. He's a bust. What another terrible pick by the Jets. Oh my God, they have no idea what they're doing. Turns out Sam Darnold's actually not that bad of a quarterback. He was just in a terrible situation. You know, had a better chance and looks a lot
yeah,
better
and
now.
Mike
So I
and Mike
think,
Shanahan saved him.
yeah, of course.
The QB
The
whisperer
QB
saved him.
whisperer.
Yeah. Uh, no, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's where you land, and it's the problem with American sports to a degree, right? Is that the most talented person often ends up in the absolutely worst situation possible, and then it is like, are you talented enough to then be one of the things that drags this team out of it, or will you just also drown along with the rest of them? Like,
Yeah.
it's a tough situation. Well, the interesting thing, I can't remember which team. I saw a head coach or a GM getting interviewed where they were talking about on your point of why do mock drafts have a point? They feed all of the major mock drafts into their data analysis models, and then it spits out like the accumulated output of all those mock drafts. And I think it was a GM. He was saying that actually, if you do that, it's pretty accurate. So they
Interesting.
on draft day, they have the sort of aggregated mock draft predictions, and they use that to then guide their own draft strategy because it helps them to think like, okay, this team is probably taking a a defensive tackle. So either we need to assume there won't be one available there, or if we want one, we need to trade up, like that kind of thought process. Any other sporting topics that have caught your eye over the last couple of days?
No, the Wild lost in double overtime last night, so that wasn't very good. But
Uh-oh.
now down 2-1 in the series.
I only have one. We don't talk about cycling very much, but every once in a while I bring it up and l often speak about the remarkable performances of Tadej Pogačar and, sometimes, when the Tour de France is on. France has not fared particularly well in the Tour de France in recent years. They haven't had a French Tour de France winner since 1985. So 40 years have gone by, which I think is pretty remarkable
Wow.
for a country that loves the sport and obviously that hosts the biggest event on the cycling calendar. And that on top of that, in the meantime, you've had multiple British winners, which I think in 1985 would have sounded
Yeah.
impossible.
I guess
They have
French have bad chemists.
yes, might be playing a part. But they now the next big superstar in cycling, who has been announcing his name on the world stage with a few wins over the last couple of weeks, is French. So Paul Seixas, who's 19 years old, looks primed to be a very good cyclist. I mean, already is a very good cyclist, but someone who can certainly be competing at the very top of the sport. So unfortunately for me, as someone who spends most of my time in Paris and gets frustrated by French people only really enjoying sports when they're good at it, I think we're going to get French people getting very excited about the possibility of a French person winning the Tour de France in the not too distant future.
19, very young.
He is, yeah. And this is the
What's the
interesting thing.
youngest person ever to win the Tour de France?
Well, so Henri Cornet
Modern
in,
era.
in
Modern era.
1904 when in the modern era, it would be Pogačar, who won it in 2020 when he was 21 years old. Well, basically 22.
Okay.
He was 21 years and 364 days. So he was just sneaking
Ooh.
in.
Nice. What a great birthday celebration.
Yeah, must have been not bad. But yeah, it's not a young man's sport, but yeah, in the sense that, yeah, you don't see a lot of teenagers really being relevant, but 21, 22 is when they kind of really
Yeah.
start being because obviously part of the challenge in winning the Tour de France is the team needs to decide that you're the one that's going to lead the way. So harder to convince a bunch of experienced pros that they're going to work hard for a 19-year-old. Any non-sporting topics to discuss other than haircuts?
I watched, obviously
From?
Euphoria. No, I haven't watched From yet. I'll save that. I'll save that for when I really need something. Yeah, episode 2 of Euphoria. And then I started watching Margot's Got Money Troubles, the new Apple show with Elle Fanning, and Nick Offerman and Michelle Pfeiffer. It's all right. I'll finish it because it's a 30-minute comedy, so they go by pretty quickly. But it's not that funny, which is unfortunate because actually Elle Fanning was in The Great, and I loved that show, The Great. That was a really good show. And she was quite funny in that show, and this is not as funny. It's a little strange. I think it's based off a book.
Oh.
I'm sure the
Have you
book's
read the
better.
book?
No.
Yeah, I do think you should watch From. You liked shit like Silo, and I have no doubt if you
I
watch
love
From,
Silo.
you're gonna.
Oh, I love
this is gonna
anything
be something.
sci-fi.
Yeah, this isn't.
But it said it was horror when I looked it up. Is it horror?
It's not really horror. There are monsters sort of in it, so I wouldn't
There's
classify it as
mystery
horror.
elements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What those monsters really are is unclear. So,
Oh, are they the monsters within us?
could be. We'll have to wait till it's there's season 5 coming as well. So you got a
Wow.
lot of. That's the good news. This is the reason why I would also encourage people to watch it. Is you've got a lot of episodes to get through, which is always nice when you start a show. In that A, there's a lot of episodes to watch, and B, the show hasn't been canceled. So I'm assuming at this point the show is doing well enough, if they've already renewed
They'll
it for
wrap it
season
up.
5, yeah, that you're gonna get at least it might be a disappointing resolution, but they're gonna get it.
Yeah,
I did
unfortunately, I mean, you mentioned it the last podcast, and then that night there happened to be a random episode of Lost on television as we were kind of just going through the channels, and I clicked on Lost, and it was just an annoying ass Michael episode where he's just being so annoying. And I watched it, I was like, I can't watch this guy in his own show. And he might act
the thing I
completely
like
different. Like the character could be completely different, but you just get so stuck sometimes, like with a character in your head that you can't erase the fact that they annoyed you
Oh,
so
yeah.
much for so long of your life.
No, I get that. Even if it's positive, like, I can't take, John Krasinski seriously in anything because he's just Jim Halpert for me, and it's not a knock on him as an actor, but in his evolution into kind of, like, action star, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're just Jim Halpert who put on 20 pounds of muscle, like, I don't see you any differently. I can't actually buy the fact that you're, a CIA agent fighting people
Oh,
somewhere, like, it just
speaking of, that was the one I wanted to talk to you about. I don't know if you saw, but there was Amazon came out with this show. I think it was a show, or was it a movie? I can't remember. I think it was a show. It's called The Citadel. It was by the Russo brothers, the guys who did like the good Marvel ones, like Avengers and Endgame and all those. Um, it was like a CIA spy type show, and Amazon had plans that they were gonna do like a citadel for every country. So like there'd be like a Spain citadel, and then like like all, and then they'd kind of link them together, like this big master plan they had. And the first season of Citadel didn't turn out very well, but they did get a second season, and in season 2, who is your like covert op spy action star? Stanley Tucci.
oh
Now,
my god.
can you picture Stanley Tucci running around shooting like semi-automatics and like sneaking up on people and like murdering them?
You set me up for Stanley Tucci rant because the other day when I was scanning reels, I saw a clip of Stanley Tucci, and I don't know what movie or TV show he was promoting, but he
Oh,
was
Devil Wears
asked
Prada too, I'm sure.
he yeah, it was because he was with, what's her,
Emily Blunt.
no, the main
Oh,
actress in it,
yeah, Helen Mirren.
her. No, the not her. The main
Anne
character,
Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. He was with her, and they were asked to, and now it makes sense thinking about it. There was Devil Wears Prada too. They were shown like swatches of colors, and they were asked to identify which one of those colors was a certain color. And he very confidently said, "Oh, that's whatever it was, cerulean or whatever." And then they told him he was wrong, and he was outraged by this. He was telling them that they were wrong. I mean, not in an unpleasant way, but it's like, what a pretentious little prick you are, where you've now evolved into this person who's like, "Oh, I'm an expert on food and colors and everything.
Cultured. The most
I'm a
cultured
Renaissance
person.
man."
Yeah.
Like, get, go away. You're just a reasonably good actor who's been very successful. Go and live your great life, but stop trying to like convince us that a character that you might have played on screen is who you are in reality. It's so
Yeah.
painful.
Well, now get ready for him to talk about, covert ops in different countries because he's all
Like
in.
my idea of hell at the moment would be a dinner party where it's Noah Wiley talking about medicine and Stanley Tucci talking to me about the food. Like that that might be a covert operation because that's just me blowing up the table. That's my terrorist act. Like that's just I can't take it anymore. But
You've got to add someone talking about sports as well in there.
there could be a long list, yeah. But uh speaking of things I've watched, though, I have started watching that documentary on Netflix, Trust Me, The False Prophet, the one about um, fundamentalist Mormons, polygamous Mormons in southern Utah and northern Arizona.
Oh,
Uh, it's not bad. It's pretty interesting.
I thought you were going to say the Lamar Odom one.
No, The thing
I
that
watched
does
that.
the thing that does bother me a bit about it is it's 2 people, it's a husband and wife who kind of moved to this place right on the Utah-Arizona border where there's a lot of polygamous Mormons, and they sort of immerse themselves in the community. There's a bit of a savior, uh, sort of concept behind them where they're like, "We're the only people who could have exposed this, and we're here to save these women." And, like, obviously, I'm all in favor of helping to free people from any type of, uh, subjugation. It's just kinda strange to me that, like, the main concept of the documentary is, like, look at this crazy guy who thinks he's a prophet. Good thing I'm here, the only person who could possibly save them. It's like, "Oh," it's like, you're not too far away. You're only a couple steps away from
I've
being
saved
in the
all
same
these women. I call them my women now.
Yes, they're all my
They are
wives.
my women I have saved.
Yes. They're incredibly indebted to me and should listen to me in the future, regardless of how insane it sounds.
They owe their lives to me.
I now run a production company, and there is only them as employees. None of them get none of them
No
get
salary.
salaries. They owe me. It's a debt of gratitude.
I haven't even seen that, so I'll have to.
It's not bad. Like, it's not bad. As I said, it always worries me when early on in the documentary, and it's almost in the first couple of it worries me when the documentarian, you can tell part of their idea is they want to be a bit of a star of the documentary. So that to me it's already a little worrying. And it's a bit like when we've discussed in the past, like what was that podcast series with Adnan, um,
Cereal?
Serial, where like once they did in the analysis of was the storytelling in the original Serial great, and also in future seasons of Serial. When part of your documentary relies on exposing certain things and sort of you already get a little concerned that, like, in order for this to be interesting and successful, you need to skew everything in a particular. Now, the people involved in this are not good, so I'm not trying to make it out as if the documentary has made them look bad, but it is a bit off-putting for me when you have the person wanting to be a star and, like, the outcome of this being like, "I'm gonna be like, I can make more documentaries because I'm gonna be the face of this," and B, for it to be from day one, this is what I think is happening. I will expose this 100%. I will show you this. And lucky I'm here to expose it. Um, like there's moments in it. And she definitely paints the police as if they could have been a bit more proactive, which quite possibly they could have been. Who knows? But it is funny that she'll just like get a recording of something and then send it to the police, and then they'll just be like, "Yeah, I mean, this doesn't look good, but we need more evidence than this to actually arrest someone." And she's like, "Oh, the system's broken." It's like, no, I mean, kind of that's the way it should work. Like, you can't just like surreptitiously record someone and then send it to the police and be like, jail.
But have you watched the Mar Odom Untold? Did you
I
watch
haven't,
that one?
no.
Oh.
No. I told you, I know that's not really a sports documentary, but I'm taking a bit of a pause from the sort of
Yeah.
sports documentary world. It's just been overwhelmed by it. It's just too much.
Yeah. So weird. I don't know why they did a full documentary on him. Like, it's kinda weird,
Crazy
but
life.
yeah, a little bit.
I mean,
Just seemed to be an addict. I mean, that's all it really was.
yeah, but still the way things ended like badly, fairly spectacularly for
In the
a pretty
brothel.
famous player. Like
Yeah.
it's not just some fringe NBA player. This is someone who was, I'm not going to say household name, but you know, third or fourth
Yeah,
best
very
player
good
on
player. Yeah.
championship teams. Anything else?
No, that's about it. Not much going on. We'll have to see how the draft goes. That'll be either make for a good weekend for me as a Giants fan, or already set up for failure like they have in previous drafts. So we'll see.
Oh, you had told me and I'm gonna put you on the spot now, and there I think the most likely outcome of this is that you don't remember. But after we recorded the last episode, you said you had a question for me that you wanted to ask me on the podcast.
Oof. Had a
This is
question, or I did have the quote because the one thing was I've been watching a lot of Curb,
Yes, it
and
was that.
yeah, and so I was watching a lot of Curb, and it was the episode where it's in newer seasons. It's the one where he's doing the Young Larry TV show, and they
Yeah,
want to get Woody Harrelson to play like the uncle, and so they're watching Woody Harrelson with like his acceptance speech for like an Academy Award or an Emmy, and he's like going on and on about like all the different things in the world that are wrong. And then they asked Jeff asked Larry what his speech would be. He's like, "You got to keep it short, keep it super short." And he said, "This would be his acceptance speech." He goes, "I want to thank the Academy and don't allow babies on planes. Good night." And I was like, that would be Eddie's acceptance speech as well.
yeah, we'll see. I'm taking a 7-hour train to Barcelona, and my nightmare will be if there is a baby in close
Why don't you just
proximity.
fly?
Because honestly, when you look at it door to door, it's not much quicker flying. So you're not really saving time. And I much prefer trains. You know, like on a train, I can properly work. I can get up and walk around. I can feel much just like in general more comfortable. So like flying would probably be 90 minutes quicker for a whole lot more hassle in a way.
Yeah. I don't know where the
So
airport is in Barcelona. I feel like it's far away.
yeah.
I can't
So
remember.
yeah, it's just to me, honestly, if a train is available, I'll train over plane constantly.
Don't allow babies on trains. Good night.
I'd rather a baby on a train than a plane, but because again, the nice thing is you've got space to move to much more easily. Like there is you can walk between different carriages. There's going to be like a food cafe space that you can take your baby to and at least like stretch your legs, move them around. That's harder to do on a plane.
Yeah. Well, have you seen a lot of new plane updates? Actually, we haven't talked about. Maybe we can end on that. United, I don't know if you saw now for their transcontinental flights are offering you can buy the full row in economy that
Yeah.
turns into a bed. Did you see that?
I saw that. I also saw whether
Then there was
one of
also
the
the
like
other one was
bed
New
that you can
Zealand.
rent. Yeah.
New
And
Zealand
so
Air
like
has like bunk beds in the middle of
that you
economy.
that you can rent for 4 hours at a time,
I think so, yeah.
which so my issue with the whole row thing is at what point is it cheaper to buy the whole row versus upgrading?
It's
Like,
well, it's they said it's much cheaper still than buying like a lie down seat.
and then yes, they put in the things to kind of make it a little bit more comfortable. I mean, for starters, I'm 6'2". I can't lie across like if I lay across
No.
3 seats, my feet are still gonna be slightly hanging out. So then
Yeah.
I'm gonna
You're
be like
you're still
kind of
curling in.
yeah, I feel like conceptually okay, but not really that nice.
Yeah. Maybe good if you have like kids and you can put your
Maybe.
kid and lie your kid down.
Yeah. L I mean, for sure in that scenario where
Short
maybe
King's probably
there's
loving it.
yeah. But, yeah, I mean, you can tell us once you've given it a go. The renting the bunk, I kinda get, but I don't like the idea now, obviously, you could just book it the whole way if you wanted to, but the 4-hour at a time thing, my nightmare would be, A, the time pressure that I would, like, go there and be like, "Fuck, I got 4 hours. I really wanna get some good sleep." And then B, being woken up by a flight attendant to, like, kick you out of that. Uh, I don't want either of those experiences.
Also, I don't want to sleep like that close to another human being that I have no idea who it is. Like, it's like the whole, like it's like the, oh my god, I can't think of the word now. What the hell do you call them? What like, the hostels. It's like a hostel kinda situation. Like, I I'm past a hostel situation in my life, like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that I don't think that would bother me. I would have some concerns, and I
Yeah, what
get
if
that
the
they're
person below you's got some gas? Then are you concerned? What if they're a
I'd be cons
snorer?
I mean, you can put earplugs or I mean, you can kinda say that
You
about
can
any
murder
plane or
them.
train. This is also true. Th My big concern is I know that they're cleaning everything, obviously, but I'd still get in it and be like,
Ugh,
"How clean is this since the last
yeah.
person was in
What
here?"
did
Like,
this
if
person
you're
do
not
in this bed?
yeah. Yeah, there could be some awful things that have been done there, and it's like, I don't know if I wanna be getting in there, like and that would make me uncomfortable too, because I would be saying to the flight attendants, like, "Do you, like, really clean in here? Like, have you just changed a pillow and changed the sheet, but other than that, I'm
Yeah.
getting in, or has this been, like, sprayed down?" Because otherwise, I'm not gonna feel comfortable if I don't know. Ultimately, all of this like, I have no problem just slumming it in economy, and all of these other solutions are like, I'm slumming it in economy or I'm spending it on the nicer option. But this,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I have no
middle
problem
solution.
slumming it in first class.
Yes. Now, hey, update. Obviously, we did. Oh, we'll have this as the final topic, but we obviously did speak about our Breeders' Cup trip, and since then, everyone in the group chat has engaged. David was the first to respond, so we predicted that accurately. That's going to raise an interesting because we're going to be five, and it could work out perfectly because we know we have one person. We do typically share rooms. We have one person who really doesn't want to share rooms ever. So in the 5 into 3 room scenario, I guess he always just benefits from which is it's a really good move to be like the outspoken, I want my own room because
Yeah.
you will end up in odd numbers quite frequently. And then it's just like, "Ah, just give it to that guy.
Do you know
He's
what?
really passionate about this."
I think this year I'm fighting for the own room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanna claim my stake for the own room.
I mean, look, everyone can have their own room. That's just like, do you want to spend on your own room? Like that's the only thing. But yeah, um,
Yeah, we'll have to see.
but that would be my recommendation to anyone who's on group trips is like, you obviously run the risk of coming across as one of the more sort of like difficult people in the group if you are complaining about not having your own room a lot. But early on, sowing the seeds of like, I really like sleeping in my own room. Like, I don't do well around
Yeah.
others when I sleep. It's a good move in case you end up in odd numbers.
I often shit myself at night.
It's more for you guys than for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't mind it
I
at
have
all.
bad GI problems. It's a nightmare. Alright, well, I guess
On
with
that,
that, we'll, wrap it up and call it a day.
sounds good.
Alright, talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.